May bagong programa ang Department of Social Welfare and Development kasunod ng pagkakalagda ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. sa Executive Order No. 27 o ang reorganization sa Interagency Task Force on Zero Hunger. The program aims to alleviate hunger and poverty for families belonging to the lowest income bracket. And to give us more details on the food stamp program, we have DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian. Good morning, Secretary Gatchalian.
Good morning. Maraming salamat. And before I go into the details of the program, I'd like to put it in context in relation to the new executive order on hunger. Let me just read a prepared statement by the department. Magandang umaga. With the restructuring of the Interagency Task Force on Zero Hunger, we are assured of a stronger and more efficient system and mechanism to mitigate hunger and poverty in the country. This is also part of our commitment to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and attaining the ambition natin 2040. In line with this development, I am proud to present to you the Department of Social Welfare and Development's new program that will provide food augmentation to food poor families, also known as Walang Gutom 2027, the food stamp program. The program is anchored with the Philippine Development Agenda 2023 to 2028 of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. in addressing both hunger and poverty, and more particularly with alleviating the incidence of involuntary hunger among the Filipino families belonging to the lowest bracket income as identified and stated in the recent DSWD List Tahanan 3. The Walang Gutom 2027 aims to provide electronic benefit transfers that will be loaded with food credits amounting to 3,000 pesos to purchase a select list of food commodities from DSWD accredited local retailers. The Walang Gutom 2027 intends to target the bottom 1 million households from List Tahanan 3 who belong to the food poor criteria as defined by the Philippine Statistics Authority. We believe that this program will properly address the gaps and assist its beneficiaries in attaining the recommended food and energy consumption needed for each member to perform their daily tasks and routines that has direct and indirect contribution to human capitalization and a direct positive impact towards nation building. In other words, by meeting the daily food requirements of its target beneficiaries, the said program will sufficiently mitigate hunger due to extreme poverty. Lastly, the DSWD hopes that through Walang Gutom 2027, the country will be able to combat hunger and achieve food security towards the realization of a zero-hunger Philippines. Maraming salamat.
Okay. Open for questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're open for questions. Ivan Mayrina, GMA 7.
Sec, is this conditional?
Yes. Ivan, when I joined the DSWD, we said that we want to recalibrate every single thing that we do there to turn it developmental. To make it developmental, 4 things has to happen. 1, it should be targeted. It's not a shotgun that everybody, even yung hindi nangangailangan, makakatanggap. We target those that need it the most. 2, it should be conditional. 3, it should be measurable. And 4, there should be clear exit mechanisms so that it doesn't turn into one program on top of another program. In the case of the food stamps, ang plano natin dyan, like I said, it's targeted because we've already identified the 1 million food poor families. These are families that do not make beyond 8,000 pesos according to the PSA. 8,000 pesos monthly. So that's the target side of it. It's conditional. Similar to other food stamp programs, there will be a work component to it. Ang argumento kasi ngayon, di ba, pag gutom ang isang individual, hindi siya makaparticipate, hindi siya makatrabaho. Kulang yung caloric intake. So kung hindi siya makapagtrabaho, hindi siya produktibong mamamayan ng ating bansa. So ang gagawin natin dito, we will supplement the family's intake so that they mawala yung feeling of hunger. Thereby, makahanap siya ng trabaho and thereby they become part of the workforce of the country. Ang condition nga doon is when you're signed up, you have to go to your nearest public employment office, get a certification that you are now being counted as part of the workforce. No matter what job it is. Alam naman natin, iba-ibang skill sets, iba-ibang angkop na trabaho. Pero ang importante, nagtatrabaho ka na.
Okay. Pia Gutierrez, ABS-CBN.
Sec, paano yung funding nito? Saan siya manggagaling? Because yesterday, the President said that the food stamp program is just still on the pipeline in partnership with the ADB.
Tama yun. It's a very good question. Let me just step one step backwards saan nanggaling to. Remember, the president's dream during the campaign was to end hunger. Ang pangarap niya, walang Pilipinong pamilya dapat natutulog ng gutom. That's why we made this bold statement, walang gutom 2027. We want it to be the president's legacy that right before he steps out of office, wala nang Pilipinong gutom. As he evolves the economy into higher yielding jobs, we have to make sure that we're making the right human capital investment so that they can partake of those jobs that's being generated. Kasi diba, we don't want it to be a scenario wherein the president's evolving the economy, evolving the types of jobs that's being generated, pero 1 million Filipino families cannot partake of that fruit of that economic change. We want it to be inclusive. So, tama ka, it's still in the design stage because what's happening right now is we are working with the World Food Program, who has vast technical expertise when it comes to running food stamp programs worldwide. And then the ADB was kind enough to provide close to $3 million for the 6 months pilot that will run in the middle part of this year towards the latter part of this year. So this year, we're in the design and piloting stage. What does that mean? In every big, large-scale program, you don't want to launch it without studying it and going through the details. So they've identified 5 pilot sites coming from different geopolitical characteristics. Meron tayong in the Barm area, what used to be a former conflict area. 2, geographically isolated regions or provinces. 3, in urban poor settings. 4 and 4 will be calamity-driven, stricken areas. And the 5th will be rural poor. So we have to make sure that yung konteksto ng programa will be designed na naaangkop sa bawat lugar. Kasi what might work for one may not work for the other, but the general framework should be the same. Access to food, nutritious, delicious, and affordable food for every single Filipino family. So the remainder part of the 6 months, fully funded by grants from the ADB. That's why the President opened it yesterday in ADB, and we are thankful. The DSWD is very thankful to the technical support and grant support that the ADB has extended to us.
So with that, sir, could you walk us through the timeline, sir? Kailan ang start ng pilot testing and when do we expect it to launch nationwide?
Yeah. Well, first things first, we are in the design stage. As we speak right now, meron na tayong first draft ng design, and we will spend the remaining months of May and June in the design stage. We all know that the devil will be in the details, and we have hired multiple consultants in the department to take a second look at what's being designed para may check and balance. Noteworthy will be Professor Briones of PIDS, who is a known hunger and poverty expert. He has volunteered to jump on as a consultant of the department para whatever is being produced na design in those right shops will be given a second glance. I just don't have his first name. I call it Roel, I think. Roel Briones. Also, we are working with PSA's in-house poverty expert who is their USEC Dennis Mapa. He is helping us craft the concept there. So the remaining May and June, we will work with designing it. Now, July to December will be the pilot run for those regions that we've identified. We actually have the municipalities, but we just want to vet them properly. And then we have to also work with the economic team on trying to package the economic side of it or the financing side of it. So hopefully, next year, we get to do the actual run. Early part, first quarter of next year. But we have to point out that we won't not also do it simultaneous 1 million. That's trouble waiting to happen. We have to do it in a progressive manner. We have to do the pilot at 3,000 families, 300,000 hopefully next year sa first run, another 300,000 right after, and then hopefully reach the magic number of 1 million on the succeeding year. But all throughout that program, we will continuously measure and we will keep on measuring the beneficiaries.
Okay. Maricel Halili, TV5.
Hi sir, magandang umaga po. Sir, paano natin masisiguro na sa pagkain lang magagastos yung 3,000?
It's a very excellent question, and I will now borrow the President's line. We use food as currency. Meaning, the digital cards kasi that will be given to them, let me just point out that this is also in tune with the President's drive na digitalization. Baka iniisip natin, these are like your manual food stamps na mano-mano. No more. We're working with the WFP on a digital platform wherein they get tap cards. Now, the TAP cards will not be loaded with money, but they will be loaded with food equivalent. Meaning, we also work with the FNRI family in crafting the program, wherein I created multiple baskets to choose from. So yung baskets are always composed of 50% carbs, 30% protein, 20% fats. So mamimili ka lang within the food group. So let's say you go to an accredited partner retailer. You get to choose lang from a selected list of food items in that food group. So kung carbs, it's either rice or whatever you may have. So hindi to tipong cash na ibibigay natin. We use food as currency. I'm sure somebody will ask that, who are the retailers? That's the exciting part for us. What we're doing right now is creating a whole ecosystem of farm to table. Remember, the President's drive was making sure that our farmers are taken care of. And that's why he set up yung mga kadiwa ng Pangulo. That's the farm to market part 1. The part 2 is we extend that ecosystem to market to table. So with 1 million Filipino families subscribed to it, we can also tap into our kadiwa ng mga Pangulo as outlets. 2, MSMEs, mga mom and pops groceries. And 3, obviously, because of their scale and their magnitude, mga big grocers. We've spoken to them, every single brand there is, and there's an appetite to participate in this program kasi we want it to become a movement. Ending hunger is not just the government's job. Ending hunger is everybody's job. It's not right that 1 million Filipino families are sleeping hungry and saying na bukas, I've lost all will to get out of poverty kasi chronic na yung poverty nila. Kung gutom ka ngayon, hindi ka makakapagtrabaho, bukas gutom ka na naman. And the cycle keeps on going around and around and around.
And sir, paano po natin malalaman kung sino sa kanila yung graduate na dun sa programa?
Okay, 2 things that we will use. That's the measuring part. Remember, SWS and other outfits always run that quarterly hunger index na lagi nating na-feature. The recent one, I believe, was it went down from 11 to 9%. You can fact check me on that. I just don't have the detailed figures in my head. We will obviously work with our survey firms to make sure that we're gauging the right things. On another point, in the design program, the 4-year life of the program is 4 years because listahanan, yung ginagamit namin para sa 4Ps na mga proxy means tests, are run actually every 4 years. So we can gauge, after 4 years, we can see if may progress sa kanilang, in fact, as early as 2 years, we can already gauge it. If they're moving along as we want, moving out of the food poor category, hopefully into the poor category. We always say that poverty is a long game. Hindi naman natin kaya, we want to end poverty pero hindi natin kayang sugpuin ang kahirapan overnight. Pero may mga low-lying fruits like ending hunger. We've asked so many people and it's doable.